Good evening, and welcome to the Crypto Overnighter. I'm Nicodemus, and I will be your host as we take a look at the latest cryptocurrency news and analysis. So sit back, relax, and let's get started. And remember, none of this is financial advice. And it's 10 p.m. Pacific, Sunday, October 1st, 2023. Welcome back to the Crypto Overnighter, where we have no sponsors, no hidden agendas, and no BS. But we do have the news, so let's talk about that. Tonight, we're diving deep into the murky waters of deception, legal turmoil, and the ongoing struggle for financial freedom. Do Kwon's courtroom dramas, FTX's questionable asset movements, and the European Central Bank's stance on the digital euro are all on the table. Trust is at a premium, and it's becoming increasingly clear that centralized entities are on shaky ground. Let's get to it. Do Kwon, the founder of Terra, a once massive crypto ecosystem, is in hot water. Court documents from the U.S. Securities Exchange Commission reveal that Kwon admitted to faking trading volume. The SEC filing shows a text exchange between Do Kwon and Daniel Shen, founder of the payments app Chai. Kwon tells Shen, quote, "I can just create fake transactions that look real, which will generate fees." When Shen questions the ethics, Kwon assures him, "I won't tell if you won't." Chai partnered with Terra to speed up payments, but the SEC alleges that this partnership was a sham. Terra never replaced Chai's payment systems. Instead, they replicated Chai payments onto the Terraform blockchain to deceive investors. In 2019, Terra announced its partnership with Chai, promising to process millions, if not billions, in transaction volume. But the SEC claims that Chai payments did not use the Terraform blockchain. They were made through traditional means. This is a betrayal of trust. A slap in the face to every investor who bought into the Terra ecosystem. And it gets worse. Do Kwon's Terra was focused on algorithmic stablecoins and was the second biggest DeFi blockchain after Ethereum. Its native cryptocurrency, Luna, was a top digital asset. But in May 2022, Terra collapsed. This led to a brutal bear market and bankrupted many crypto projects linked to Terra. Do Kwon now faces a litany of charges. He was arrested in Montenegro on charges of document forgery. He's been detained indefinitely and is fighting extradition to the U.S. The SEC has requested his extradition, but his attorneys are pushing back, claiming it would prevent Terraform Labs from presenting a statement during the summary judgment process. Now, before we move on, if you're enjoying tonight's deep dives, do me a favor. Hit that like button and turn on notifications. Trust is the currency of our times, and Do Kwon's saga reminds us to be cautious. Speaking of caution, let's delve into a recent move that's causing waves. Remember the FTX exploit from last year? Well, the Ether tied to that exploit is on the move again. Let's set the stage. Around 2,500 Ether, worth just over $4 million, started moving early Saturday morning. These funds were divided via multiple transactions. A chunk of 700 Ether was transferred using Thor Chain Router, a cross-chain bridge with a focus on privacy. Another 1,200 Ether moved through Railgun, a privacy-focused DeFi wallet. The remaining 550 Ether is still in another wallet. Now, there's still some 12,500 Ether, worth around $21 million, sitting in the original wallet. The timing on this is interesting. This movement comes just days after FTX founder Sam Bankman-Fried is set to go on trial in the U.S. over fraud and conspiracy charges. Bankman-Fried has pled not guilty, but some former FTX and Alameda Research executives have pled guilty and are expected to testify against him. More on that trial in a bit. So, who's behind this? The identity of the exploiter remains a mystery. Last year, accounts tied to FTX and its U.S. affiliate were drained almost immediately after the company filed for bankruptcy and Bankman-Fried stepped down. Shortly after the exploit, 21,500 Ether was converted into the stablecoin DAI. Now, let's not forget the broader implications. The market is anticipating the launch of Ethereum futures ETFs. And here we have a significant movement of Ether tied to a high-profile exploit. Interesting timing for the Ether to be on the move, especially with the possibility of those Ether ETFs coming out soon. It's like a pot about ready to boil over. But the heat doesn't stop there. The U.S. government is digging into FTX's asset handling. Sam Bankman-Fried, the former CEO of FTX, is facing a trial, and the Department of Justice is pulling no punches. Federal prosecutors are summoning former FTX customers, investors, and even employees as witnesses. These witnesses will testify about their interactions with Bankman-Fried and their understanding of FTX's treatment of customer assets. The DOJ aims to prove that FTX misled both retail and institutional clients who transferred substantial assets, expecting the platform to safeguard them securely. Assistant U.S. Attorney Thane Rain confirmed that the testimonies will focus on how these witnesses understood their relationship with FTX and Bankman-Fried. The DOJ is particularly interested in how reasonable persons would have interpreted statements made by FTX regarding the treatment of consumer assets. The DOJ identified 3 cooperating witnesses who have already pled guilty to charges tied to FTX. These include former FTX Chief Technology Officer Gary Wang, former FTX Head of Engineering Nishad Singh, and former Alameda Research CEO Caroline Ellison. Another former FTX executive, Ryan Salame, also pled guilty but has not agreed to testify yet. But wait, there's more. One of the customer witnesses, identified as FTX Customer 1, resides in Ukraine. Due to the ongoing conflict and legal hurdles, this witness cannot easily travel to the U.S. The DOJ is asking for video conference testimony supervised by a U.S. government official, possibly at the embassy. However, Bankman-Fried's defense team does not agree with this motion. The defense, led by lawyer Mark Cohen, raised concerns about the DOJ's jury questions. They argue that the questions insinuate guilt and may not effectively uncover jurors' inherent biases, especially concerning cryptocurrencies. Jury selection starts on October 3rd, with a trial to follow. The spotlight is on this legal battle, and the stakes couldn't be higher. This case isn't just about one CEO or one exchange. It's a litmus test for how the U.S. government is positioning itself against the crypto industry. If you've got a moment, make sure you're subscribed to stay updated on these unfolding legal battles. The FTX trial is shaping up to be a landmark case. But legalities aren't just about individuals. They reach into the very systems we use. Vitalik Buterin, the co-founder of Ethereum, recently voiced concerns about the role of decentralized autonomous organizations, or DAOs, in the staking pool ecosystem. Buterin's worry centers on DAOs having too much control over node operators and staking pools. He specifically calls out the liquid staking provider Lido, which uses a DAO to validate node operators. While Lido has implemented safeguards, Buterin argues that one layer of defense may not be enough. He's concerned that a single staking token could dominate, leading to a potentially attackable governance system controlling a large portion of Ethereum validators. Rocket Pool, another staking provider, allows anyone to become a node operator with an 8 Ether deposit. But this approach isn't without its risks. Buterin points out that it opens the door for a 51% attack on the network, forcing users to bear most of the costs. Buterin's solution? Encourage diversity among liquid staking providers. He believes that relying too much on moralistic pressure is a perilous strategy. Instead, he suggests changes to Ethereum's protocol to further decentralize liquid staking. This could include tweaking Rocket Pool's approach or empowering a committee of small stakers. Buterin also contemplates the trade-offs of adding certain protocols directly to Ethereum's base layer. He's more in favor of enshrining some protocols than others, ERC 4337 for example, but each presents a complicated trade-off that will continue to evolve over time. The centralization of Ethereum's liquid staking providers is a real concern for Buterin. Lido currently controls over 32% of staked Ether, spread across various validators. Both Lido and Rocket Pool have safety mechanisms, but Buterin questions if these are sufficient. Buterin is cautioning the Ethereum community to think critically about the role of DAOs and staking pools. He's not just identifying problems, he's proposing solutions. And in a space that's all about decentralization and user empowerment, these are concerns we can't afford to ignore. Buterin's words should resonate with anyone concerned about over-centralization, yet centralization fears aren't limited to just crypto. And the CBDC alert in the EU is our cover for tonight. Christine Lagarde, the ECB president, made it clear the digital euro will not offer complete anonymity. This is a significant admission, and it's raising eyebrows, especially among members of the European Parliament. The European Commission proposed a legal framework for a CBDC within the Eurozone's 20 member states. This digital euro could debut by 2027. It aims to offer consumers the ability to transact with public money both online and offline, which sounds good, right? But here's the catch. It will not be entirely anonymous. Lagarde defended the project, stating that the digital euro, quote, will not be completely anonymous, as is the case with a banknote. She added that digital money leaves a trace on the blockchain, making complete anonymity impossible. This has led to concerns from members like Gunnar Beck, who questioned how privacy could be guaranteed without ensuring anonymity. Now let's talk about the role of commercial banks. According to Lagarde, commercial banks will serve as intermediaries to disseminate the digital euro. These banks will have access to user data, but the ECB itself will not. Lagarde assures that there will be no ECB Big Brother examining transaction details. But can we trust commercial banks with our data? Can we trust the banks not to share that data with the government? These are questions worth pondering. The ECB argues that offering the anonymity that banknotes provide is contrary to the objective of combating money laundering and terrorism financing. So in essence, the ECB is willing to sacrifice user privacy for the sake of security. And by that, what I mean is they're willing to sacrifice your privacy for their security. The digital euro claims to be, quote, accessible to anyone, anywhere, and free. While online transactions will offer some level of confidentiality, offline payments will supposedly guarantee the protection of citizens' privacy. But given Lagarde's recent statements, how much can we really trust these assurances? In October, the ECB Governing Council will meet to decide on a 2-year pilot project for the digital euro. The European Parliament and the Council will then have to adopt this proposal before the ECB makes the final decision on whether to put such a digital euro into circulation, potentially by 2027 or 2028. The ECB stance on the digital euro's lack of complete anonymity is a glaring red flag, at least for anyone who values financial privacy and freedom. While Lagarde assures us that there will be no ECB Big Brother, the mere fact that commercial banks will have access to your data is unsettling. Remember, these are the same institutions that have been embroiled in countless scandals and data breaches. Trusting them with even more of your information seems like a risky proposition. Moreover, the ECB's justification for this lack of privacy, combating money laundering and terrorism financing, is a common excuse used by governments and central banks to infringe on individual freedoms. It's a slippery slope from here to more invasive forms of financial surveillance. The digital euro, as it stands, could become another tool for centralized entities to keep tabs on your financial activities. So while the digital euro may offer some conveniences, it comes at the cost of your privacy and potentially your freedom. It's a trade-off that each individual will have to consider carefully. But for those of us who value financial freedom and are skeptical of centralized power, this latest revelation about the digital euro is a stark reminder that not all that glitters is gold, or in this case, digital gold. Lagarde's open admission about the digital euro's lack of privacy should give us all pause. Now, let's switch gears to a company trying to claw its way back from the abyss. Next up, we're diving into BlockFi's recent strides towards emerging from bankruptcy. This is a significant development, especially for those who've been keeping tabs on the beleaguered crypto lender. BlockFi's creditors have given the thumbs up to its bankruptcy restructuring plan. This is a pivotal moment in the months-long process aimed at winding down the firm's operations and reimbursing its clients. The plan garnered approval from more than 90% of the creditors. This overwhelming support will enable BlockFi to recover assets it lost to crypto exchange FTX and the failed hedge fund Three Arrows Capital. Now, why should you care? Well, this could mean more money in the pockets of creditors, which could be you or someone you know. The company has stated that success in this process could increase client recoveries depending on the product and the jurisdiction. But now hold on, it's not a done deal yet. A bankruptcy court still needs to give the green light to finalize the plan. And once that happens, BlockFi will be cleared to distribute the related funds to its creditors. For those of you with funds in BlockFi interest accounts or BlockFi retail loans, you should expect to get your funds back within the next few months. Now here's another layer. BlockFi is also planning to continue distributing its funds to clients with BlockFi wallet accounts. So if you're one of them, keep an eye on your email. You'll be prompted to withdraw your funds based on the recovery amounts approved by the plan. But what about the FTX angle? BlockFi claims FTX owes them money and intends to pursue litigation to obtain those assets. Any funds recouped from FTX could increase client payouts. The question is, will BlockFi successfully recover funds from them? Time will tell. Lastly, for our international listeners, before distributions can formally start, a Bermuda court overseeing BlockFi's international clients must recognize the U.S. Bankruptcy Court's plan approval. Once that's done, BlockFi can finally emerge from bankruptcy and enact the wind-down process outlined in the plan. So there you have it. BlockFi is on the verge of turning a new leaf, but several legal and procedural steps remain. It's a complex web, but one that could result in a win for the little guy, a rarity in a world where big centralized powers often seem to have the upper hand. So, what happened? In tonight's episode, we pulled back the curtain on Do Kwon's alleged fraudulent activities involving Terra and Chai. His admission of faking transactions has sent shockwaves through the crypto community and landed him in legal hot water. Then we discussed the mysterious movements of Ether tied to last year's FTX exploit. As Sam Bankman-Fried prepares for his legal battle, the timing of these transactions raises questions about the motives and hidden agendas. And you know how we feel about hidden agendas around here. We also delved into the US government's case against SBF. With the Department of Justice summoning witnesses, this upcoming trial could be a litmus test for the government's stance on cryptocurrency. We took a moment to heed Vitalik Buterin's cautionary words about the influence of DAOs and Ethereum staking pools. His concerns about centralization within decentralized entities gives us all something to ponder. And lastly, we scrutinized the European Central Bank's disquieting stance on the digital euro. Lack of anonymity and reliance on commercial banks raise serious questions about privacy and financial freedom. The overarching theme tonight is one of scrutiny and skepticism. Whether it's the SEC going after Terra's Do Kwon, the mysterious movements of Ether tied to FTX's past exploits, or the European Central Bank's compromising stance on the digital euro. Tonight's episode is a reminder that centralized entities, whether they're crypto platforms or national banks, are becoming increasingly questionable in their motives and actions. These matters have very real implications. They shape our perception of trust in these platforms and institutions. They determine how secure we feel about our investments and financial freedom. And they set the tone for the ongoing battle between centralization and decentralization. As we wrap up tonight, we find ourselves in a world where trust is being eroded and the quest for financial freedom is increasingly fraught with challenges and uncertainties. The actions and policies of these centralized entities will either fortify or undermine the crypto ecosystem. What's certain is that skepticism and due diligence are more crucial than ever. And that's going to do it for us tonight. I want to thank you, my listeners, because when you stop listening, I will stop talking. If you enjoyed tonight's show, then please like, follow, subscribe, leave a rating, or maybe a review. And in the meantime, we'll see you tomorrow night.